The University of Missouri-Kansas City Institute for Human Development, in partnership with the Missouri Developmental Disabilities Council, presents After Abuse, Resources to Guide Missourians with Disabilities. Video 3 in the 4-part series is Gather Information. Meet the Investigators. When you tell someone about abuse or call a hotline, the person you tell may have to report it to a state agency or the police. Someone from these agencies will want to gather information to support what you've reported. Reports of abuse are sometimes called cases. Gathering information is sometimes called an investigation. An investigator is someone who gathers information about the abuse and looks for facts to find out what happened. The person investigating your story depends on a few things. What kind of abuse was reported? Who the abuser is? If the law was broken? Where you live? Or where you were when the abuse happened? If the abuse broke the law, your case may be investigated by the Missouri Department of Health and Senior Services, Adult Protective Services, the police, or even your local sheriff's office. Let's meet some investigators to learn more about what they do.
We investigate emotional, psychological abuse, sexual abuse, physical abuse, and financial exploitation. We like to assess the environment that they're living in, especially if any abuse occurred in that environment. How they appear, whether they are looking nervous, closed off, things of that nature. And then within our interview, how they're answering questions. We go over a safety plan. Are you feeling safe? Who is making you feel unsafe if that is the case? Has there been any abuse that's taken place, and when has that taken place last? Do you have any safe place to go? Any other family supports, friends, anything of that nature to kind of get away from that abuser? But some of the points that we need to know in order to move forward with an investigation is if there was any noticeable neglect, someone hadn't eaten in some time, things of that nature. So when a call comes into our hotline, it's our job to do the initial assessment and pass it on to our Special Investigations Unit to further investigate and address those issues.
If somebody has broken the law and hurt someone in either stealing something, or maybe hit them or hurt them in some way, or didn't take care of them, then our social workers would bring that to our office, and that's my role when it arrives to look into that part of the situation. I call them on the phone. I introduce myself and I will tell them what my role is. I will explain that I'm the next step. Remember talking to maybe Sarah? Well, I'm Leslie, and my role is to look into the investigation part that Sarah has shared with me. And I have them answer some basic questions. We can meet at their home. We can meet at a place away from their home. I can come and pick them up, and we can meet at a park. I give them many choices. If they're okay with it, I'll have them come to my office. Because my office is very quiet, it's private, it's comfortable, and I find that people are more comfortable and willing to talk openly if they feel that way. And it works really well. We'll talk about my puppies, we'll be laughing, we'll have a little drink of water, sometimes I have a snack available. I want them to just relax. And then we will slowly have to go into some subjects that can be a little touchy. Subjects that bring up bad memories. Subjects that sometimes we don't like to talk about. And so we do it very slowly. I always make sure I do it at the survivor's pace. I've even had to break it up to different days because we've done enough today. And we have trauma, and we don't want to have too much more trauma. If you can't recall something, I would rather have you tell me that. If you can't, I just don't, Leslie, I don't remember. That's okay. I don't want you to make it up. I don't want you to guess. I don't want you to lie for sure. We never want to do that. I would rather have you say, I'm not sure, but I think it's this. That's okay, because that's the truth. That's all I ask in my interviews. Let's go slow and careful and truthful. Once I have finished an interview with a survivor, then my job gets very busy. My job is basically to go right behind what they've told me and back up what they've told me. In other words, if they said, I had $500 in the bank and someone stole $400, my job is to then go to their bank with their permission, now that they've given it to me. I'm going to look at that $500 to see where it might have gone, to see if someone had actually stolen it out of the account. That's the first thing I'm going to do. And depending on what this survivor has shared with me, what else has happened. Maybe some of that $500 got spent at Walmart. I'm gonna then go to Walmart. I'm gonna ask for video to see if I can get a video of who's buying things with my survivor's money, because that is what we call evidence. And it's important I gather evidence in my job. When a survivor has shared with me that their life currently is in a very scary situation, or maybe they're fearful to go home, maybe they're living in a situation of ongoing abuse, my job is to understand that. So I've literally taken people from this chair and they don't go home with that person if they don't want to. That's when we put up a plan. If they're scared, the last thing we're going to do is send them right back into a scary situation.
When I handle a case involving abuse, once I get an initial report, I investigate that all the way through till I present the case to a prosecutor. So what typically happens, I'll receive a report that I'm assigned from my sergeant, and then I'll read through that report and I'll figure out who the victim is, who's the primary aggressor, or whatever's going on with that particular case. And depending on the circumstances, I may call them or I may show up at their house. If they feel more comfortable talking over the phone, you could do that over the phone. If they are more comfortable with you going to their house, or even we have an interview room in our sheriff's department, so they can come to our department. If they want to meet at a park, I've done that before too, just anywhere where they feel safe. I don't like to rush into the hard questions. I like to just kind of get to know what's going on with that person, what happened today. And in law enforcement, we use what we typically refer to as the 5 W's and the H. Who, what, when, where, why, and how. I want to know everything about the case that I can possibly know. I want to know what led up to the event itself, and then what happened after the event, maybe before law enforcement arrived there, or maybe even after law enforcement left. If someone needs a translator or a victim's advocate, specifically a translator, we can get those resources there to help. There are legal terms and legal jargon. If I have to use that type of language, I will try to explain what those individual words mean. When you go to someone's residence to investigate abuse, that investigator is going to show up. There's going to be questions. And again, if they don't feel comfortable at that moment, they can always ask the investigator to step away. I collect all the information that you give me and I compile it into one single report, and then I present that whole report, or case as we call it, to the prosecutor's office. The prosecutor is the person who is ultimately in charge of making the decision whether there will be charges filed. If someone's being abused and there's no hard evidence, that's okay. Your statement as a victim to me is evidence, and that will go in my report. If you're in fear for your safety, you need to speak up. You need to say something, and you need to get someone either in law enforcement or some sort of first responder that can help you either get you the resources that you need or just get you away from that situation that you're in, because typically violence will continue to occur. It is really important that you stand up for yourself and say something if something's happening to you.
So we want clients to know that we are here for them, It is not their fault in the situation that they are in, and there is a way out. There are resources and there are things that can be done to ensure that this does not continue for them.
More than one state agency may investigate your case. When you report that abuse has happened to you, the state will decide which of these agencies will investigate the abuse. To learn more about investigators, see the Phase 3 Guide, Gathering Information. Funding for After Abuse, Resources to Guide Missourians with Disabilities is provided by the Missouri Developmental Disabilities Council. This video has been created by the University of Missouri-Kansas City Institute for Human Development. The After Abuse Project is for people with disabilities and their allies, developed with the support of experts in the field of adult protective services and the disability community. For their help in making this video series possible, special thanks go to Leslie Albrecht, Caleb Brashear, Gary Jackson, Julie Salih, Sarah Spruill, Kathleen Tofall, and Christopher Robin Judson Worth. Additional tools and resources are available at afterabusemoguide.com. Copyright 2023 by the curators of the University of Missouri.